Hello, and thanks for sticking with us here on Palmetto People. We have an interesting guest now in Jim Dumm, who is with the TaraHallHome for Boys in the Myrtle Beach and Georgetown area. And Jim, thank you very much for being here with us.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
I guess a lot of people have not heard of what TaraHall is, so could you explain what the facility is like?
I'll be happy to. Simply stated, we're a home and a school for boys who, for lots of different reasons, need a place to live. Usually it's because of abuse and neglect in the family settings, but other times it's because of emotional and behavioral problems that the boy himself has. And we just take the kids the way they come to us. Usually they're anywhere from age 6 to 13, and we take them the way they present themselves and try to root out their bad habits and replace them with good habits.
So it's a residential home, and the school is located right there. So you have control, and they're in an environment where they are supervised around the clock.
They're in an environment where we try to provide for all their needs from A to Z. Usually when we get these children, they're at least 1 to 3 years behind in their schooling. And it's not because they don't have the ability, it's because they haven't had the support and the structure that any kid needs to be successful. So way back in 1973, we started our own on-campus school, and I feel like now that it's become such a part of our fabric that we might as well close the place if we had to close the school, because we get a tremendous amount of good done through the school program.
How many boys will you have at any one time?
We're licensed by the South Carolina Department of Social Services to care for 24 at any given time. For the last several years, our population has averaged about 18 to 19 kids. And we're happy with that because that's a real good mix of kids.
You mentioned back in 1973 you started the school. Your facility has been around for about 40 years. You'll turn 40 this September.
We're going to celebrate a big 40th anniversary in September of 2010, and we're looking forward to that.
Where do the boys that come to TaraHall come from? How do they get there?
We get referrals from lots of different sources. Of course, the Department of Social Services and Department of Juvenile Justice can refer children to us, but usually that's in an effort to keep the kids out of the system. That's before DSS has to take custody or DJJ has to take a kid to court. We get a lot of referrals from mental health centers and psychiatric hospitals. But the overriding number of kids come to us on referrals from their families. Could be a single mom who's struggling to meet the needs of the kid. Could be grandparents who end up raising these children. Just any number of folks can refer kids to us.
How much time will a kid generally stay at the school? We
like to hang on to these kids. We like to get them at a young age, like I said, from 6 to 13, and hang on to them at least 18 months to 24 months because, you know, these kids don't develop their problems in 3 or 4 months, and we're not going to solve their problems in 3 or 4 months if we ever do. And we're realistic enough to know that all we can really do for these children is give them opportunities to address their problems. And we also feel like one of our responsibilities is to give them opportunities to be kids and to have fun. So we emphasize that.
Talk about the whole aspect of them coming in. How much do you know about the kids when they arrive at TaraHall?
We try to learn as much as we possibly can about their background because, number one, we want to make sure that a boy really needs to be away from his family, and especially for a period of 1.5 to 2 years. And we also want to make sure that we have the ability to meet his needs. Although a lot of times we will take chances with kids that other facilities won't take a look at because sometimes they look really, really rough on paper, but once you get them into the program and they're there for a month or so and understand what they can and can't do while they're with us, they usually adjust pretty well.
Discuss the transformations that you've seen in some of these kids.
Oh boy, it varies from case to case, and we've had almost 600 children in the time that I've been there. Some come in and act like they've been there all their lives. Other kids come in and they're extremely homesick for the first month or two, and it takes that period of adjustment. And a lot of times these kids are so damaged and so harmed that it takes a good 6 months to a year for us to build up any kind of a trust relationship. And that's why we try to insist on the 18 months to 2 years, because after that first year is where you'll really see a kid take off. We'll see kids advance as much as 2 full grade levels during the course of a school year. And you know, I could talk to you forever about some of the success stories and some of the kids that aren't quite as successful.
Some of the kids that have been through TaraHall, do they come back now and help out or come back to
One of the
visit
best workers I have on the staff right now is a boy who came to us when he was 11 or 12 years old, and he finished high school, went through a Job Corps program, and he came back, and he's one of our residential child care workers. I wish I could clone him. He's the best one I got.
How many people do you have on staff?
We have 12 folks, 8 of whom are full-time and 4 part-time.
So tell me about this kind of facility and the need for this kind of facility, not just here along the Grand Strand. Is this kind of thing needed in basically every kind of community?
There really is, because you know, we exist on donations at TaraHall, and I'm really grateful that we do, because many of the church homes, especially those of our size, get a tremendous amount of Medicaid funding. And with the recent state cuts and federal cuts, those programs are really struggling.
And you never had to rely on that, or
We
never got to rely on it?
We never relied on it. We chose not to rely on it. Would rather rely on the good-hearted folks of the community.
And how willing are they to come through and support what is going on at TaraHall?
Well, like most folks over the last 2 years, it's been a real struggle to maintain our staffing and maintain our level of care for the kids, but folks are really, really good to us.
Mm-hmm. The whole package that you have, where would these kids be if it wasn't for that? Where would they be heading if it wasn't for TaraHall and your intervention?
Many of these kids would end up in the state system. Many would become more severely abused in their family settings, and DSS would need to intervene. Many of the kids would end up in the care of the Department of Juvenile Justice, where it costs a tremendous amount of money to house a child in the Columbia facilities, and we can do it a whole lot for less, and we also do a much better job, I feel, of really turning a kid around. We don't want to just warehouse kids. We want to directly impact their lives.
Where is TaraHall physically located?
We're in the middle of nowhere. I suggest that anybody wants to come see us, call for directions or do a map quest, because we're about 18 miles from the city of Georgetown. It's a beautiful location. We sit on 11.5 acres right on Black Mingo Creek in the Rose Hill section of the county.
You said, or you're going to celebrate your 40th anniversary this September. Is this still in the process? I mean, are you still going to what you will ultimately become?
We want, 3 years ago, we became nationally accredited, which was a goal that our board of directors set for us, and we want to maintain that and improve upon that. We don't envision ourselves getting any bigger. We just rather learn to do a better job of what we do.
Well, Jim Dumm from TaraHallHome for Boys down in Georgetown County, thank you very much for being a part of our program and informing our viewers about what goes on.
My pleasure.
We'll be back with more Palmetto